Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all coming in. We're going to get started. We're going to give it about 2 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the session. But I am so glad that you all are coming into the session. You should be able to hear me now. This will be recorded, so a copy of it will be able to be sent out to the New Mexico Association of Realtors. That way they can provide everybody a copy of it at the end of the call here. So it is a pleasure to be able to connect with all of you. I'm glad that you took some time out of your day to learn more about the admin and qualifying broker part of Transact. So it's really great. Here we go. Excellent. Just going to give it just a couple more seconds, just want everybody to get the chance to be able to jump in. So let's give it just a little bit more time, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Just giving you just a little bit more. I saw a couple more people coming in, so I want to give them just a second to be able to get their audio connected.
Range. Got it. Okay.
There we go.
I'm good.
Excellent. Why don't we go ahead and get started in today's session? We're going to be going through some great things within the Transact program. Today is a very special session for qualifying brokers and admin. I want to first thank Amanda and Ari for putting this together from the New Mexico Association of Realtors. They've been really amazing, and I am so glad that we are able to get connected for today's session. So thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Excellent. So you may have noted a couple things. First off, the cameras are turned off. We just don't want to cause any distractions. And so we went ahead and made it so that cameras are going to be turned off for the associates that are on here. We do have over 200 right now on the call already. So having that many cameras on might cause a few distractions. If you want to ask questions, we will be having the chat window open. So you can ask questions within the chat. I brought in some amazing teammates of mine in to help me with questions. I have Bernadette and Lucas that are going to be jumping in and helping answer any questions that may come up. You'll notice a couple AIs have joined us too. You see the chat. We have everybody's AI assistant jumping in, just making sure to take down every word that I say. So that works. I know everybody needs to be able to take those notes. So excellent. So yeah, we're going to be going through a lot of great items within the program. So just to give you a rundown of the event for today, I know some of you might have been in the previous sessions where we talked about the transaction desk to Transact transfer process. I am going to go over that again today for anyone that has missed it. I want to make sure that you see exactly the process there that you can go through to be able to get that transferred over, so not a problem. That you'll make sure and go through that process yourself. I'm hoping that if you haven't yet, go ahead and try that process out. We are going to be getting your Transact user account created during that process there. We're going to talk about navigating the Foundation Cloud. There's actually a couple new items that have been added onto the Foundation Cloud, namely a brokerage option on there that I think that you really will like. It's going to show you some great production numbers for your office. So it's a really great way to be able to keep track of your office and yourself as an agent too. We're then going to dig into the broker edition of Transact, the differences between it and the agent profile, namely the checklist and the review process are going to be the two primaries on there. We're going to create a couple brokerage checklists and templates to give you an idea. So for compliance processes, checklist is the engine, the template is the vehicle, which drives the compliance process into your transaction. So we're going to be creating a couple checklists. We're then going to be creating a couple templates, and we're going to move those templates into our transactions and talk about the full agent compliance process. And then we're going to end with the broker review process. So after agents have turned in their documentation, what does it look like on your side to make it so that you're going to be able to see and review and get everything completed? Okay. I know Lucas Bernadette, if you don't mind keeping an eye on the lobby as well. So that'll help me out as well. Thank you. Just want to make sure and mention that as I saw a couple people trying to get in still. Excellent. So we're going to start here with the transfer process. If you haven't done it yet, you should be able to see a highlighted section at the top of your transaction desk. If that's gone away, you may need to clear your cache. I'm not talking about the cache you have in your bank here. I'm talking about CACHE, okay? So that kind of cache on your computer. Get that cleared, and when you do, it should be able to populate up at the top again. If you do have problems populating it, I am going to provide the support information. So you will be able to reach out to our support team if you do continue to have problems connecting. But try that first, clear cache. Usually it will then repopulate at the top of your transaction desk. When you click on it, it's going to ask you to put in your email address. So this is the email address that you would like to use for notifications being received from Transact. So any email notifications for Authentisign, any notifications that you want to receive for review processes, that's the email address you want to add here. And when you click continue, it will send you an email with a code, and you just have to plug that code in back into the previous step there. So just grab that code off your email, plug it in, and you will have created your Transact account. It's very simple, just a couple steps on there. And again, if you don't see that highlighted portion, try clearing your cache. It should reset your transaction desk and allow you to be able to see it. Once you get into the Foundation screen, you'll notice Transaction Desk and Transact. Both will be available on there. Transaction Desk is not going away anytime soon. So don't worry, just because you created a Transact account, it did not delete or destroy your Transaction Desk. And just to be clear here, this is not your code. This is my code. So don't try to use that code, Connie. So this is a code. You're going to get your own code to your email address. So sorry if that caused confusion. But with Transaction Desk on there, you're going to be able to access that. You're going to be able to create transactions still in there. Still going to be able to use that system, okay? No, that is not going away. We will set a sunset date, but we're not looking at the end of 25 or anything like that. We're looking 2026, possibly even 2027. We're going to be in talks with your New Mexico Association of Realtors to set a permanent date on when the best sunset date will be for you all, okay? You will have Transact on there that you can begin to click on and test out. One thing about Transact, all of your transaction desk transactions will be in Transact under the slider at the top of the page. So it'll be at the slider at the top. You click on it, and all of your transactions will be there. Those will never be deleted. Even when eventually Transaction Desk is removed, it's sunsetted, those transactions will never disappear. You'll still be able to click on them and be able to come in and view those transactions, see the forms. You can even complete the transaction process, going all the way to closing, doing signings, adding forms, getting that all completed. So you don't have to move your transactions over to Transact if you have a current under contract or active listing. Don't worry, you can complete it, no problems. You don't have to create a new transaction for it in Transact, okay? The key is here, you're getting early access into the Transact system. We wanted to make sure that New Mexico Association of Realtors, that all of the users began to be able to use it. You can test things out. You can start creating some templates and checklists, see how that process works. We want you to test it out and really get used to the product before we start talking about a sunset date for Transaction Desk. Couple things, so just frequently asked questions. So your transactions will move over from Transaction Desk to Transact. You can complete your active and under contract listings in Transaction Desk. You don't have to create new ones in Transact, okay? So you can get them done, no worries. That's not going to cause an issue. As I've stated previously, for those that weren't in the previous classes, as though contacts and templates will not move over yet. The date for movement for contacts and templates is going to be by the end of 2025. So we still have a goal set to move all of your contacts and templates over to the new system. But again, with the early access, we wanted to go ahead and get this qualifying broker and admin class completed so that you can begin to create your own templates, begin to create your own checklists, test out that process, see how it works on the agent compliance and broker compliance side. So even though those haven't moved over yet, you can still come in and begin to create templates and checklists. It will not affect anything when those do come over and are moved over before the end of the year. So you have contacts and templates haven't moved over yet from Transaction Desk, but they will be moving over by the end of the year. Okay. So those are those frequently asked questions. Of course, the big question is why? Why are we making this change on here? So with any software product out there, eventually there comes a date where you're spending a lot more time and energy just trying to maintain maintenance on that product than you are able to add any type of upgrades or move that product into the future of what the real estate needs are. And real estate needs now include being able to connect multiple products together, making it so that you'll be able to connect your CRM seamlessly into your Transact system and seamlessly connect that with like a cloud CMA system. So building out your custom market analysis or being able to easily build out reporting for that. Unfortunately, Transaction Desk has its limitations. And so what we did is we took the best of Transaction Desk and the best of ZipForm, and then we added some new amazing features in there, including what you're going to see today, the new review process. We added that in there to create a new, really fantastic system that I think you're going to really like. I really like how the compliance process works. I really feel like by the end, you're going to see the value of it as well. So let's hop into Transact. Like normal, when you log in, you'll see that foundation tool. If it takes you directly to Transaction Desk, you can click on the drop-down menu and go home if you want to be on this page. And this page, yours is going to have Transaction Desk. Mine won't. Mine will just have Transact because I'm in an educational account. But one really great feature that's brand new is the new brokerage option. And you'll see a highlighted bar at the top where you can actually see and click in to add in your office ID and to be able to also add in your agent ID. The office ID is going to give you production numbers for your entire office. You're going to see agents that are top producers. You're going to be able to see at-risk agents that have declined in production. You're going to be able to see production overview for your agents and month-to-month production for your office as well. So this is a really great, this is completely free. We provide it to you to make it so that you can just see some easy production numbers for your office. This is based upon numbers that we receive directly from the MLS. So this isn't coming from Transact. This is coming directly from the MLS itself, the data that you see here. And it's updated daily. So it's updated every single day within the product here. There's also an agent portion. Now, what's great about the agent portion, you and all of your agents will have access to this, okay? So you'll be able to come in and be able to access this. If you don't see the ability to add the brokerage portion there, you may need to go to Customize to remove your current one that you have on there. So get the one that you have on there removed. It'll reset it and let you add in the new brokerage portion. I did notice that they are working on that currently to make it so you don't have to do that, but in the very near future where you can go ahead and add the brokerage portion even if you already have the agent portion on there. But for now, if you don't see the option to add brokerage or agent portion, you can go to Customize to be able to add in the MLS or remove that one and then add in the new one with the office ID. Okay. And Tammy, to answer your question, this will be for admin and brokers in the office. So anyone has an administration or above type account will be able to see this brokerage option here. Not agents won't be able to see brokerage, okay? That's only for the office. So just wanted to show you new feature within Foundation. Pretty nice tool. But let's get to what we're really wanting to dig into today, which is going to be Transact. Some of you may have two accounts like I do. Most of you are just going to have the one. So you just click on Transact there. I'm going to go ahead and click into my brokerage account. And one thing that you may note right from the beginning here, reviews and checklists. Reviews and checklists. That is going to be the major difference between your current account versus past accounts on there. We'll say someone seems to be unmuted. If you wouldn't mind double checking to make sure that you are muted. I'm going to go ahead and mute the person that isn't muted right now. There we go. So sorry, there was a little background noise. I think someone didn't realize that they were unmuted among the team that's taking care of us today. So glad that they're able to join in. Excellent. So reviews is going to be where we are going to be reviewing the different documentation as it's coming into this item here. Checklist is going to be, as I was talking about earlier, checklist is going to be the engine that we use for agent compliance. So this is the engine. We're going to build out the engine, and then we're going to build out the vehicle known as the template, just to give you kind of a visual here. So we're going to start with checklist. What's different about Transaction Desk and Transact? Well, one, you're actually probably already used to this, though, where you have to build out checklists first, and then you build out templates. Okay, so you're probably already used to this, but you're going to notice checklist is going to have several more options in the system. I think you're really going to like those options, okay? So let's do a very basic list side checklist. And I'm going to do a pre-list checklist specifically. Under transaction type, I'm going to mark that it's a listing. Now, this is one of the new options, property phases. If you were in my agent, the different agent sessions that we were in, you may remember the property phases for the under contract and things like that for when offers fall through. The property phases now connect with compliance as well. So I'm going to create two different checklists for the two different parts of a listing transaction, starting with active, meaning I'm actively working with this client, and then under contract once that listing goes pending, once it has a buy-sell agreement that's come in and accepted, right? So let's start with active, and we'll hit create. There's going to be three primary sections. And then you right here have a view screen for what it's going to look like on the agent side. So the left-hand side is where we're going to be doing all of our work. The right-hand side is going to show us a view screen of what that's going to look like for the agent. So let's add in some desired paperwork. And, one of the first pieces of paperwork that needs to be received is that listing agreement, right? Exclusive right to represent, the seller's agreement. I'm just going to call it a listing agreement, and that's always required. So I'm going to mark it as required and select add there. And you'll note when I added it, it added step 1 for agent compliance, and it added it in that this is a required item for the agent to turn in. Something else that may be required is a seller's disclosure. So I'll go ahead and select add and get that added in. An item that could be required, but is optional only, I'm going to make it optional only because it's not going to fit every single property, would be something like a lead-based paint. So in this circumstance, yes, if there is a lead-based paint, many of you may say, hey, you need to make sure and get that turned in. At the same time, that's not going to be filled out on every single property that we have there in New Mexico. I know that you have homes built after 1970, right? And so you probably have a lot of homes built after that time period. And so I didn't mark that as required because it's only going to fit certain properties. You could also include other types of paperwork. I know in certain regions, maybe they have natural hazard or you have flood hazard. There's all types of other forms that might be included in this process. And some of them when you're adding the paperwork, some of them are going to be required. Some of them are going to be optional in the fact that if it's only needed when it's actually completed, right? But I would just keep this in mind. You may not want to get this too over the top. You may want to limit this to just the paperwork your office really needs. I know some offices, just trying to be helpful, they're trying to get every single thing that an agent might do turned into them. And remember that you can always go to your agent's transactions and take a look at the paperwork that they have at any time. So I usually suggest when you're going through this, try to narrow it down to what your office really needs. Also, remember that we're doing the active phase right now. So I'm not going to put a contract to purchase on here because when they're first listing the property, we're not going to have a contract that's come in yet. So I'm not going to put the contract to purchase. I may not put certain types of title paperwork. The type of paperwork that I'll receive later on, we're going to talk about that once we get to the under contract phase, okay? But this is specifically the active phase, right before we're going to list the property onto the market, okay? Next, we have parties, and it's a similar concept on here. We're in the active phase. So what kind of people are we going to have? We're going to have the listing agent. We're going to have the seller. Maybe we have a seller's lawyer. Maybe we have different title companies. And of course, if you're working with a lease, you might be doing a tenant right now. But I'm just adding in the people that are going to be required at this particular stage. And I'm going to mark not required for those that, maybe they do have a seller's attorney. If they do, we need it. But if they don't, then don't worry about it. It's not a required item, right? The same with details. At this point, there's only going to be certain information that we're going to require from that agent. So property type, year build, list price, list date, listing expiration, tax ID. So I added quite a few. There's more fields than that. But at this particular stage, I'm not going to add things in like the offer date or the offer acceptance date or the purchase price. We won't know that information just yet. And then things like unit, again, I'm going to mark it as not required because not every property is going to have a unit number, right? And so we just want to make sure and include required fields that we are going to receive or need every single time. As I mentioned, the right-hand side is the agent view. So this is what it's going to look like. They're going to be able to turn in their paperwork. They're going to have required parties, and they're going to be talking about details. Before too many questions come up about the agent view, remember, we are going to go through agent compliance here in a minute, okay? So understand this is just a preview of what it looks like, but no, we are going to be going through this process in just a moment. Let's go ahead and create one more checklist. Before I do that, I do want to mention you can edit the name of the checklist. You can edit the ownership of the checklist. Real quick, ownership, office level means if you have offices that are not connected to one another. So some of you on the call may have an office that's in a different association or a different state even. Maybe you have an Arizona office. Well, you would set up Transact for that office and it would have different paperwork attached, right? Versus global, which means every office, every single connected office. If you're a one office shop here, no worries, just choose global. That'll be the best option. So you can also delete this if you need to there at the top right-hand side. Let's go ahead and back out to checklist here. And let's create one more checklist. I'm going to do this one just a little bit quicker, but I'm going to create very quickly an under contract one as well. So this would be, my single family, you see, right, under contract. Of course, you may want to type it out completely if your agents get a little confused when it comes to some of these items, but usually, you see under contract, they usually understand what it means. So if I push create here, this is for the next phase now. So this is going to be things like my buy-sell agreement, right? It's going to be a required item. This might be appraisal, inspection paperwork, title paperwork. This may be, it's possibly that there might be a counteroffer in there, though not always. So I may not want to mark that item as required, right? What about the fully executed seller's disclosure? Meaning that it was signed by both the buyer and the seller, right? Or maybe the executed lead-based paint, right? Then again, not always required. Why? Not every home will have a lead-based paint. I think you're with me on this. Next, parties. Okay, this time I'm going to have a buyer in there. and a buyer's agent, or in the very least, a buyer's agent. There might be other contacts I want to go ahead, disclosure companies. We have title company on here if that needs to be included, mortgage appraiser. So there's other contacts you may want to go ahead and get added on there as well and mark if they're required or not. And then details. I don't need all the details that I already added. I'm not going to need address and city and state. We got those earlier. So what do I need now? I need the purchase price. I need the final walkthrough or the offer dates, closing dates, possession dates, those important dates that are necessary. Why am I including details, you may wonder? Well, it's going to really help when it comes to administration and accounting. I know any agent or any admin that has had to track down an agent to determine this information to make it so they can move it over to their accounting system, you're probably gleefully clapping right now. Like, thank you, finally, I don't have to track this down every time. Instead, the system is going to automatically ask my agents to provide that information for me. So it's really great there, making it so that you can show them, hey, got to make sure and fill this out. We are requiring this particular information. And then it'll already be there in Transact for the administrators and qualifying brokers. So you don't have to try to hunt that agent down to get those details, right? All right, so we got our engine ready. Got a nice V8 here. It's sounding good. Let's move over to a template now. Let's build out our vehicle, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and add a template. We're going to make this our single family residential listing template. Ownership again, you got personal, that's just yours. Nobody else's template. They can't have it, okay? Versus an office, if you have individual offices with different forms, versus global, which most of you will probably be choosing global. You can then choose, do I want this to auto apply? I usually suggest yes. You may want it to auto apply. What's nice is that you can create more than one template. So if you do have more than one template available on there, they can then add on to this template if they need to. So if you have a template for land and you then have a template for industrial or commercial, perfectly okay. You can definitely do that as well. I just usually suggest auto template so the agents don't accidentally skip over this step. So that's usually why I suggest it, okay? You don't want them to skip the template step because that will skip the compliance process there. Let's go ahead and push create now. If I want, I could adjust those details at any time with the pen icon here at the top. And then I can also delete this or make a copy. I'm going to talk about copy in just a second, but you could delete it if you'd like. So now we're going to go step by step according to the top portion, all right? We're first going to add in some folders for organization. Folders a little different in Transact versus how they are in Transaction Desk. First off, all your folders are automatically open. They're not closed. You don't have to click on them to go into the folder. They're automatically going to show the paperwork that's in that folder. And that's really great, especially for those that have had to click 4, 5, 6 folders to try to find the form or document you're looking for. This will make things quite a bit simpler. You need to add at least one folder. So at least one folder, because the system is going to search for somewhere to send the authenticated packets to, and it needs a folder to be able to do that, okay? So now we got to click on new folder here. Let's go ahead and get another folder. So I have working on here. Now let's go ahead and do, let's see here. I might do your, the pre-list active paperwork. That'd be MLS paperwork on there. I might have under contract. That'd be my fully executed ones here. So why don't we just go ahead and do, my pre-list. And then I'll do my under contract paperwork. You can organize this however you want. I'm just throwing a couple folders on here, but you decide how you would like this organized for your agents. Okay. Next, you can select the 3 little dots to add paperwork directly to the folder, or you can select plus add paperwork to add directly onto it without it connected to a folder here. One big difference between Transaction Desk and Transact is that this is going to connect to both your forms and your uploaded document items. So it's not going to be just one. It's going to be both your forms and your document items. So when I click on this, you'll be able to find your library. I don't think they were able to get New Mexico on there for me just yet. They're working on it for me. It's an educational account, so they add what they can. But let's go ahead and add a couple items. I have, lead-based paint. I have my seller's disclosure, my exclusive right to represent, and then upload. I can upload documents from my device, PDFs, Word documents. So let's say I have some special addendums for my office. Paperwork I've seen from some offices might include like media agreements, security device agreements. Those are some of the new ones I've seen from offices that may not necessarily be a part of the forms that your association has available. Okay. And you'll be able to add in that paperwork quite easily. Paperwork that your office currently has in Transaction Desk that's already set up as a form, that should already be available. If you don't see it yet, I will give you the contact support for our support team. I'm going to give you their phone number and email address so you can reach out to them to check and see, okay, where's my forms? It should be on there already. They have told me that all of those forms have been moved over. But if you're not seeing it, it could be that they just haven't connected to your account or something like that. So I'll make sure and give you the phone number for our support team so they can assist, okay? And yes, John, the forms that you have added, well, you said documents specifically on there. So any documents that you upload from your computer into a template will be available to your agents. So any paperwork, any documents, forms, you have PDFs, you have Word documents, whatever it is, if you upload it to a template and it's a global template, it will be available to all of your agents when they add the template onto their transaction. Okay. And forms are still fillable. Forms haven't changed, okay? So we have items here that I've added in. These other folders are for when those items have been completed and signed, right? And add paperwork still works for adding in any forms, and it would be able to upload any documentation, okay? Let's move on to parties now. This is going to be for generalized contacts, so probably not going to use this most of the time, all right? It's very similar to parties within Transaction Desk, okay? So more than likely, it might be a transaction coordinator, it might be a photographer that you use, but usually you're not going to have a party member that's going to be attached to every single transaction that your agents will complete, okay? Unless two caveats, unless you're a property management company or a new construction company. Those are the only two where usually you have the same seller or you have the same landlord in each one of those, but normally not going to have generalized parties that you include here, okay? An example, maybe photographer. That might be somebody you want to include every time, right? To do is similar to tasks in Transaction Desk. This is for action items. This is not for document compliance. They're not going to be turning in anything here. This is specifically for, and Ruby said, adding your TC on there. Yeah, you can add your transaction coordinator if you just want their details on there. It doesn't send anything to the transaction coordinator, though. It doesn't connect them to the transaction. It just adds that contact on there for you if you'd like. Let's go ahead and add a couple items. It's just a listing list here. And these are going to be, again, action items that you need to be able to perform. So this could include things like, place a lockbox. That's a pretty simple task. You can even set up due dates based upon transaction dates. So let's say, one day before the list date, I want my agent to get a reminder that they need to add a lockbox onto the property. Okay. Or maybe it's going to be, we have place a lockbox on there. How about add a sign? It's another basic step here. Want to make sure there's a sign on the property. Make sure everybody knows that the listing's for sale, right? So let's say at least one day before the list date, we want them to get a reminder that they need to get that sign on that property. Again, those are just email reminders just saying, hey, make sure and get this done. Your agent will very easily be able to mark items that have been completed. You can also set up other checklists. So some people like to set up more than one to-do list on here where they set up one is going to be for the pre-list, one's going to be for when it's active, one's going to be for when it's under contract. So you can set this up however you want. You can also add just everything into one place. For example, gift for final walkthrough. That's a thing I've seen several offices do where they have some type of card or something like that that they give the seller or the buyer. And so again, this is just another one of those items there. So let's say, a couple days before the possession date, we send them a reminder on there to get a gift for the final walkthrough. There's just all kinds of different things you can add on here, and it really is based upon what's best for you and the agents in your office. If your agents feel like, hey, it'd be really nice to have reminders of these items for our transactions, well, get them all included. If your agents are like, we're veterans, we've done this forever, we don't need this, no worries, not a big deal. Agents can also set up their own to-do list if they want as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and head to checklist here. By the way, Lucas and Bernadette are doing their best to keep up with all your questions. You got a lot of questions coming in, which I really like. You all are a fantastic group here, but they are trying their best to answer questions as they come up. A little bit later, I'm also going to try to dive a little bit into that after the end of the session here. But I just want to just let you know if your question hasn't been answered yet, they are working through your questions as quickly as they can, okay? So now, checklist. We got to put the engine in the vehicle, right? I know I keep using the same picture, this cliched picture over and over again, but it's a good image for how this works. So we're going to add in our two checklists. We have my pre-list checklist, and we have our under contract checklist. And we're adding both so that they both will connect to the transaction at the same time, okay? If you did forget to add a checklist, you can just create a checklist right here. It'll take you right over to checklist, okay? So I went through this process. I got the paperwork, generalized parties, to-do, checklist, single family listing, right? Let's say, though, condo, I have to go through this process again for condo, and the paperwork is very similar. So this is for single family. Let's say that this is the condo one is very similar other than a couple forms different. There is an option at the top to copy this and create one that is an exact replica of it. Let's call this one condo. I'm not going to auto apply this one. Hit save here. And then with the condo one, you just make the changes to it that are needed. Some differences in forms, a couple different to-do items on there. You can make those adjustments quite easily. So that copy is just there to save you a little bit of time and energy when you have templates that are very similar, okay? So, got our checklist done, got our templates done. Our template is now set to auto apply. So when our agent creates their transaction, it will automatically add the template to the transaction, okay? So now let's look at what that looks like on the agent side. So I'm going to take my broker hat off, put my agent hat on for a second, all right? And so with my agent hat, they're going to go in and select plus new transaction. And they're not going to have an option to create it on the behalf of somebody else. This is an option specifically for you. So I did want to point that out real quick. For you as the qualifying broker and admin, you can create transactions on behalf of a different agent to help them, okay? So they're going to choose whichever one they need, listing, purchase, lease listing, lease here. I'm going to choose it. It's going to auto apply the template that we just created. They are not going to have to try to search for this template. If they need to, they could come in and grab another template to add onto the top of this template. So they can come in and grab whatever template they need to make sure that they are using the right template for that particular property, okay? So now let's go to next. Should be property details. And this is just normal process here. Let's see here. 45th Street. I'm just going to very quickly go through this as many of you have already sat through my other classes. So I am just going to very quickly get this listing on here. Oh, 2010 here. List price 50. List date, list expiration date. Put that a couple months out here. Sure. Didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Just one second. Gotta choose it. Okay, there we go. So I'm just very quickly adding a couple fields on here so that it will be a normal transaction creation process, right? It automatically added the list agent on there. I'm going to skip the step of adding a seller because I want to show you what it looks like if if they did forget to add the seller on there, okay? So we'll hit create, got our transaction created. By using the template, it automatically added in my folders, my forms, and my document items. I did see this question that can come in a couple times here. Right now, Transact is not going to. So let's say tomorrow, New Mexico Association of Realtors comes out with a new seller's disclosure. Okay, they're not going to. This isn't a big announcement. Okay, I'm not making a big announcement on behalf of New Mexico. Okay, I'm saying pretend that it's coming out tomorrow. Right now, the system doesn't know that it's replacing one for the other. So you would have to adjust your templates right now. But understand that one of the reasons why we created Transact is because we wanted to be able to add AI resources into it, including resources maybe even in the future where it just automatically replaces it for you. The system can't do it yet. It doesn't know, hey, this seller's disclosure is exactly the same as this one. It's just the new version. And so you need to replace it. It doesn't know that yet. Not smart enough to do that yet. There isn't a system out there that's that smart just yet. But that's the hope with Transact is that we'll be able to build a much smarter system to be able to do things like that for you in the future. Okay. So I saw that question pop in a couple times. So I wanted to make sure and go ahead and answer that question. I don't know of any of our competitors that are able to do that either. So if there is one, let me know because our developers would love to see it. But let's go ahead. We have our paperwork on there. We have the to-do list. Remember, those are task items that the agent can mark as they're completed. So they'll come in, they'll mark as they're completed, right? They'll see a new option at the top called compliance. If you are an individual agent account, you won't see compliance on there. This is only for the agents and the admin that are under a brokerage. Okay. So by being under an office that has this option available, they're going to see compliance and they can start adding things here, but this isn't the approach that we're going to go through today for the agent compliance part. Okay. Just wanted to show you that compliance piece there because agents can include paperwork on there if they wanted to, but stick with me for a moment. Okay. Let's pretend. Again, I'm asking you to put your pretend hat on. We're using a lot of imagination today, so hopefully everybody's okay with that. Let's pretend that I had a couple signed items come in. So, I have sorry, let me grab the right item here. Now I have my exclusive right to represent, and let's pretend that came in via Authentisign. It'll say status signed here. That's how you would know it came from Authentisign, okay? The status signed. Before I move forward and before I forget this, because I almost did forget it, if agents have already created transactions in Transact, they can come up here to the top to apply a template. So if they did already create transactions before you created your templates, no worries. Go ahead and select 3, and then you can apply a template on there. Excellent. So let's talk about the process agents are going to go through when they're moving into their next phase. So I received a listing agreement. And so now I am actively working with this client. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click mark as active. It doesn't mean it's active on New Mexico Association just yet. It just means I'm actively working with this client. And so when they click on it, it's going to automatically open up the compliance tool. So they will see immediately, hey, you got those items done. Now we need you to turn in this particular paperwork. And so it's going to immediately pop up with this. They're not going to have to search for it within Transaction Desk right now. You have to go down to the checklist, and you have to hope that your agents are actually going to fill it in. But unfortunately, many times they miss it or they just ignore it. So in this circumstance, we made it so that they're no longer going to be able to easily ignore it. They have to see it pops up right there immediately. So they have to see it. They have to fill it in, right? And so let's go ahead and attach that listing agreement, the one that we pretended that our client signed. So they added it in. They can click on replace document if they accidentally added in the wrong one, or maybe they have a new version that was just signed on there. That happens with seller's disclosures sometimes. They'll come back later and you'll have one on there that, you'll come back later and like, hey, we had to redo this one because there was missing some fields. So you can replace it. You can also remove it if you accidentally added it to the wrong place. This is what an agent can do, okay? Let's go ahead and add in the seller's disclosure. This time I'm going to upload it. We're going to say, well, what if the client signed it by hand? Easy enough. They'll be able to come in and click on it and upload it quite easily. So there we go. We got a seller's disclosure on there. And I know this property was added in as 2010, but why don't we go ahead and throw in a lead-based paint while we're at it? So I'll go ahead and browse for that. Grab my signed lead-based paint. Okay. So we have everything on there, and you'll see pending review. That means that it's sent over to the office. They can begin to review it. If the agent needs to, they can back out. If they do back out before finishing the compliance process, it's going to give them a big comment here at the top. It'll also say it right here. And on the transaction, it'll say submission required. So it's going to be in a couple places telling them, hey, you didn't finish the compliance process yet. Come back, okay? So they're going to be able to go back. The document items are done. Let's now move on to parties. Step 2. So we forgot to add a seller. Okay, I did this on purpose, of course. See, the listing agent auto-filled because we have a listing agent. It's me. We don't have a seller. So I'll click on Add Seller. And we're going to go ahead and create a new contact. And let's see here. Fred Flint here. See, I'm just very quickly adding in an email address for Fred here. Go ahead and save it to the contacts. Hopefully this is someone we're going to be working with in the future. Get them saved on there. So now they have the seller. Like, yeah, I forgot to add the seller. Now they have them added on there, okay? You'll notice this isn't required. We don't have a seller's lawyer this time, so I don't need it. But it's there in case there is one. Details next. So that's going to be step 3 here. To move on to my details. And it shows me with that red star what fields are required. And did I miss something? Yeah, I missed tax ID. That's pretty important. So I'll go ahead and get that added too. And now I'm going to send for review. The paperwork was already sent to the office. That's already under review. But the details and the parties still needed to be included, right? So now we got the agent part done. They sent it out. We got the documentation. It's been sent over for review. You'll notice the items that they uploaded onto that, it just automatically marked those files as not filed. So they can drag them into the folders if they want. So we can move items if we need to. Getting some alerts right now. It's probably because it's pending review. So after it's been done, completed pending review, it'll probably let me move those over. All right. So now we have pending review. We have a couple items that are pending review. I'm looking at this not only from my own, but I'm seeing every single transaction for my entire office there. If you're not seeing all of your transactions for your entire office, you may need to use the filters over here on the left and make sure that all transactions is checked instead of my transactions. Just make sure that yours is checked, okay? Now let's move to reviews. So you got the agent, taking the agent hat off here, putting the broker hat back on, okay? And so I turned in these items and I need to go ahead and review it. And so under reviews, you can see which items are pending review. I can click on that item and I can see the paperwork that needs to be reviewed. I can see what items are still required. I can go to the right-hand side to make sure that they filled in all the details. I can also keep scrolling to see if they added in all the party members as well. So let's say, okay, listing agreement, you know what, this one's approved. Go ahead and mark that as approved there. Then we'll move on to the seller's disclosure. Okay, that's not a New Mexico seller's disclosure. I just grabbed the one that I had. Well, let's say, okay, actually, let me just be a little bit more constructive on this. Let's say, okay, they forgot to fill out line item 15. Okay, that's an easy comment on here. So comments are a little different in Transact versus Transaction Desk, and they're going to be better, okay? So with comments, if you go to the little section here and go to documents, you can add comments here, or you can mark reject to add a comment as well. And so you can actually, as you go, I forgot to fill in line item 15. As you go, you can actually add comments about this transaction. So, section E, are there any reports? Comment. Scrolling through. Got line item H. So I purposely missed several items on here. This isn't a condominium, so that's not needed. But there's other areas that are missed that we need to make sure that are getting filled in. And so as we're going, we can actually put these items in, and we can mark at the end there that it was rejected. You can do it from the beginning, mark it as rejected, and then continue to add comments, or you could just add comments as you go. You can also add transaction comments. So like I didn't include the legal description, so I could say, forgot legal description and add that in as a reminder to my agent. And that's just for the transaction itself. That's not even just for the document item here. So lots of options here. We'll go ahead and do the lead-based paint too. We'll go ahead and mark that when it's approved. But you'll see we have something that needs correction, okay? I'm going to go now to the top, and I'm going to mark needs correction on here. So when it comes to where it's located on the review board here, you're the one that's going to be in charge of where it's at currently. So I'm going to mark as needs correction, excuse me. The agent should have received an email already. You can send them a summary email if you want by selecting notify agent. And that summary is it's going to go and show all the paperwork. So like, hey, this was approved, this was not approved, this was approved, this was not approved. So you can send a summary email to them if you want. But let's go ahead and back up. And again, we're going to put on our agent hat. What does it look like on the agent side now? So in a table view, it'll say needs correction. In the card view, it'll say needs correction. They're also going to get that email saying, hey, got some items here that need correcting, okay? When the agent opens it, it'll automatically open the comment section here. This is different than Transaction Desk. Transaction Desk, you have to track it down. You have to try to find it. You have to know exactly where to go. You have to go to the checklist and move to different pieces there. With this, it'll automatically add the comment section, and they can open and close that comment section anytime. So for this, I can see, yep, got to add the legal description. All right, so now I can go to property and, legal, right? Go ahead and get that added in, right? And then I can mark that as done just by selecting the check mark. The paperwork, on the other hand, there's several items that are not completed. So I have the ability to click on that to be able to see it, and I can scroll through to find what items are missing. The agent can then also immediately send this to Authentisign. Why is this great? Is because if you move it to Authentisign, in Authentisign, you can add the missing checkmark boxes, and you can add some initials for the client to be able to get that completed, that item, if they miss something while they were signing everything. You can also, if you want to, just replace the file with a new file if you already have it corrected. And the way that you go about do that, you can go here to compliance. You're going to choose to replace the document, and you're going to either upload the new one or grab it from the completed signed item. So whether you choose to send that item through Authentisign, and then they need to add those items in, correct those line items, or if you want them to redo the whole thing fresh, it depends on New Mexico Association regulations, of course, but it also depends on what you believe is the best process for your agents, okay? So I'm showing you both processes, because it is going to be dependent on what you feel is going to be best for your agents, the easiest approach for them, okay? So we'll go ahead and upload one. I am just going to grab a random document this time. I don't have another seller's disclosure, but we're just going to grab it and add it in. And this time, hopefully, it will pass muster and say it's good to go. So yeah, that is the full process there. The agents can also then mark items as resolved if they want. Just say, hey, yeah, I got all those things done with that document, okay? And for you, you put your broker hat back on. You see the item that's been turned in, see it's good to go, and hopefully mark it as approved. So it's a little bit of a different process. The best part about it, oh, one thing I did forget to do, apologies. Don't forget to change the status on there. That was on me, I forgot it. But don't forget to change the status once you've completed your particular process there, okay? Excellent. And then the agent would just continue on with their processes. Let's hope that they get the listing under contract, right? And they accept the offer. And when they click on it, it'll take them right back here where now they need to attach the compliance for the under contract process here. So similar approach, add paperwork, make sure you have your parts, and make sure that you have the details. That's it. Full brokerage side here. Brokerage review process. Some of you, your heads are spinning. Don't worry. All of this is recorded. So every single piece of this was recorded. You are going to be able to access a little bit later this entire thing, be able to go through it as much as you need, okay? Jennifer, good question about TCs. So with transaction coordinators, they are going to have the level of access that you set within the system. So there is a couple items I didn't go through just because today was primarily about that brokerage review process. But many of you, if you go to the little icon, so again, so I went to the home page here. And if you go to the icon here at the top and click on the admin panel, you will have some admin options, including the ability to see what offices are connected. If you need to include another office, you can. Teams is not there just yet. That's a 2026 Q1 item, okay? So Teams, you will be able to put those together a little bit later. Users here, this is where you're going to see your users. And you'll see that a couple roles have already been added onto your account. When you have a user like a TC that needs a different role, just edit it, and you can click what role they should have. Should they have an administration role? Should they have an agent role? Okay. And you can even add some of your own roles on there, like the role for a transaction coordinator, which includes particular options. So when I click on Transact, it will give me options like, can I manage, do I want them to manage transactions? Do I only want them to manage mine? Do I want them to manage a particular office or particular agents in that office? Or do I want them to have access to everybody's? So you can set up your TCs and your administrators with a particular level of access under roles and permissions. After you have added that, and by the way, you'll want to create a new role for the TC, okay? So after you've created the role, you'll then go to the user to edit their specific role. So they will then have that level of access. Most TCs, if they're doing it for the entire office, they're just going to be set up with a normal administration account. Okay, so you don't have to worry about, unless they are not automatically set up. If they're automatically set up as an agent, you may need to come in and adjust their role to an administrator. So that's most TCs out there should just be set up as administrators. But if you have a TC that's only for a specific agent or a specific group of agents, you may need to set up a new role so that they can assist those agents. And when you set them up with that, they will be able to see all the transactions for those agents. They'll be able to add forms in there, send out document items for signature. So they'll be able to actually manage those transactions fully for the users. So good question. Thank you for the reminder that I wanted to make sure and go through that. Sorry that it had to be at the very end, but yes, you can set them up on there. And they will be able to make adjustments onto those transactions on the transactions that they're set up for. So again, that's where you set up the level of access. Should they be able to do it for 5 agents, 1 agent, or everybody? Okay. We have a lot of help resources because I went through a lot of information. I'm throwing a lot at you in an hour. I'm sorry that it's a lot in an hour, right? Again, everything was recorded. Second, question mark here. We have a lot of resources. We have a getting started guide. We have admin how-tos. We have guided walkthroughs for everything from checklist to creating a transaction there. We have webinars that cover all of the material that I went through. So, if you didn't get to take any of my previous classes, I highly suggest the create a transaction one. Or if you want a fast approach here, just going through both e-sign and create transaction, create a listing and create a purchase transaction are really great for that fast approach of let's very quickly get a transaction created and let's very quickly get an e-signature packet sent out. So those are 2 great classes for those that just need to take something really fast, okay? We also, under the question mark here, have our support team. They are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can call them, you can send them a case, you can go down here to the bottom right if you want to start a conversation with them via the chat window here. So chat is the little lone wolf icon there at the bottom. You can also call them. So let me get their phone number up. I know some of you have to take off in order at the top of the hour here. So here's the phone number and email for our support team. They are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can give them a call, send them an email. They are a really wonderful team. They would love to help with anything that may come up along the way. And so let me pause there just for a second. And then this last part's just for me. I added to the chat too. It's just a short link survey. Let me know what you like about the class, what you wish was in the class. This is just about the survey, the class itself. There were a couple questions that came up that I know Bernadette and Lucas, they did their best to try to answer as many questions as they could here. So really appreciate you all. You all are really great. Trying to take on the amazing group that we have here from New Mexico here. So a couple questions that came up. So first off, don't forget, all of your transactions and transaction desks will get moved over. You'll just have a little slider that you can go. Mine doesn't have it because I'm an educational account, but you'll be able to move between the two. For TCs that are set up in more that are connected to more than one office, you may have to have more than one user account, unfortunately. And that's where the drop-down menu here will come into practice. So you'll actually have a drop-down menu with multiple offices, and you would need to switch between those different offices. Okay. So currently, I believe that currently you have to actually log into different Flex accounts for it. If I remember correctly, if you are a TC for more than one office, or you may have to log in, you may have to log into another user's on there, which I wouldn't suggest doing. What's really great about the new Transact on here is that you can have more than one connected. So if you are okay. So Susan says, no, we have our own login and we super use each broker. So I'm guessing that you might be talking about Flex MLS on there. So right now you can't super use in Transact yet, where you're a super user in Flex MLS and New Mexico Association there, and then you go in. But that is something they are working on, giving you that capability. Okay, but that's not available right now. To answer Carmen's question, Carmen, that specific MLS, I believe it's under the umbrella of a different MLS. I'm trying to remember the name of that specific MLS. But that one is, I believe, under the umbrella when it comes to pulling the data here. So I think you would just need to look for what MLSs are available in New Mexico, and it would be whichever one does the data share with that specific county on there. So just to answer that question. I saw that question come in from Carmen earlier. If you have a question about which one you should be choosing, reach out to our support team. They are available 24/7, so you can give them a call, send them an email, and they would love to be able to assist. But I believe, Carmen, it would come down to which MLS does a data share with them, and I honestly don't know off the top of my head. If you want to email transacttraining@lwolf.com with that question, I can see if I can track it down, or I can see if support needs to jump in there. Okay, Carmen? So I think most of the questions were answered for the most part. Just trying to see. Okay. I think so. But PDAs and funding authorizations, John. I believe that those types of forms should automatically already be in the system on there. But if there's specific forms that are missing on there, oh, and Maggie, no, this is part of your MLS, what your association has provided. So New Mexico Association of Realtors, due to the amazing relationship they have with us here at Lone Wolf, and because they're amazing and want to provide really great member benefits, they are providing this to all of you as a part of a member benefit packet. Okay, so no, there's no additional fee for these items. Okay, all right. If you have continued questions and I missed something, or I'm misunderstanding your question, could also happen on there. Like, John, your CDA and funding authorizations, I might be misunderstanding. I apologize. You can always reach out to our support team. You can also email transacttraining@lwolf.com if you like as well. And our team will see if they need to get our support team connected for that, and see if they need to answer that question. But beyond that, it's been a pleasure. New Mexico Association of Realtors, you always are such a great, wonderful group to be able to connect with. So thank you from this guy from Kansas City. A big thank you to you all. And I hope to be able to do more sessions with you in the future. Hope everybody has an amazing day. And thank you again.